Hi, everyone. Welcome back. So, today we're talking about Chapter 6, Writing on the Web, Part 2, Blogging and Web Articles. Well, first, let's answer the question, what is a blog? Well, blog is a word created by combining the words web and log together, and they create blog or weblog, which was one of the other previous names for a blog. Now, these started as kind of a more confessional type of format, online diaries, sometimes forums would include blogs as well. And it was kind of a precursor to what we know as social media today. There were a lot longer, longer posts, fewer photos. The internet just couldn't handle it at the time. Um, Now, two of the first blogs recorded were created by Justin Hall and Jordan Barger. And the first one, Hall's blog, links.net, is actually still going. I believe it's the longest one running to date. And you can also see a copy of Robot Wisdom if you go to the Wayback Time Machine, which is an archiving website for those of you who may not know. So you can actually see both of these and kind of how the internet existed probably around the time you were born. Now, blogs today, of course, are quite a bit different. These are now used often by companies to interact with their audience, or they sometimes are still a kind of personal format, but most of the time it's going to be a way for minority groups to discuss different topics. And when I talk about minority groups, I mean like groups who are into specific activities or have a particular viewpoint that maybe isn't shared as much in what we consider mainstream media, traditional TV, radio, etc. And you'll see a lot of this crossover too in streaming where we now have a lot of access to content that wasn't available even 10 or 15 years ago. And like I said, one of the reasons we're talking about it today is because of a blog's ability to connect with an audience and use that longer writing format to provide information. Now, what's the difference between a business website post versus a blog? Well, business website posts, as you've seen through your research, tend to include press releases, or it might be something that's closer to traditional news writing. Most of the time, this is a way for the company to provide specific information about goods or services to their intended audience. Now, a blog is going to have a more social tone. This is usually going to include some way for the audience to connect to the material, either through personal examples that are provided or personal opinions more often. And a blog is usually going to include frequent and regular posts. This could mean 3 times a week. Some people even post every day. It really depends on what your goals are as to how often you would post on a blog. Now, here are a few blog uses laid out specifically. The first one, of course, is to help your company rank on search engines. The more often your posts appear, the more likely it is that your company that handles, let's say, space travel, is going to appear whenever people type in those specific words, or if you're someone who provides, let's say, a lawn service in the Lafayette area, then if you provide more content on your website, then you're more likely to appear in the top 3 items in a search engine without having to actually pay for an ad. And the second one is to share information about a given topic and become an expert in an industry. And by becoming an expert, I mean someone who's recognized as an expert by people both within and outside of your industry. That could include let's say, if you attend conferences often and it's possible that you would be considered for a particular panel if you post about it regularly, even if it's short articles that include a podcast or a video or something, whatever it is, the more information you're providing to search engines and to the internet in general, the more likely it is that you're going to be recognized for your accomplishments. And the third way, to attract visitors to your site and turn those visitors into leads. So if you're trying to help people find you, of course, and you're providing that information for people to find, then they're more likely to approach you and to visit your website. And if they visit your website, they're more likely to, of course, buy your goods or services. And fourth, to cultivate an online community and engage with an audience. So again, blogs are a type of online, they can become a way for you to interact with your audience online, and it makes it a lot easier for people to ask questions. Think about when you're able to directly communicate with someone, you're more likely to ask questions or to at least see if they've posted something that relates to a question you have. Now, a few options for blog sites. Of course, one of them would be to host your own website, so buying your own domain and pay for server rentals or whatever else you need to include in there. You could also use sites like Blogger, WordPress, Medium, Tumblr, etc. There are a lot of different options. Each one has its own pros and cons. Feel free to look up those websites and you can see what they offer, how they vary between each website, but also still include the same types of goals in general. Now let's look at types of blogs and web articles. So unlike our other work with traditional news writing, the online post has a few different variations, and it depends on your audience and what kind of goals you have, of course. The first type we'll talk about is the personal essay, and this is often more of the diary or confessional type of post where someone's posting their experiences, thoughts, opinions, something that doesn't necessarily include any outside sources. Now, this isn't the type of writing we'll practice in this class, but it is a good thing to review and see how it differs from the other types. Now, one place where you could post personal essays is on Medium. There are often very editorial type of posts on there. And of course, the The in-person version of the personal essay would be an opinion or editorial article, and you'll still see those in newspapers. There are also talk shows now, if you're looking for the broadcast version, where people will express their own opinions, but not necessarily cite any outside sources of information. Now, the interview is usually conducted using a podcast or radio transcription. This could be featuring a celebrity or someone who is a professional answering questions related to a specific topic. It could be part of a how-to article as well. Just depends on what kind of information you're discussing. Now, there are a wide variety of options when we're talking about interviews. This could be interviewing someone about a current or future event. You'll see this a lot, especially on local public radio, where they'll talk about an upcoming event with a particular organization, or it could be about a field specific idea that's come up in recently in the news. So, for example, if there's a new type of computer music software, which there actually has been an addition of AI use in creating music. So that could be a topic for someone. If they're talking about a war that's happening right now and they want to talk to a retired general or to someone who's been in the military before, that would be a specific idea related to a current event. And this can also combine with other blog types. You might use the information from the interview in snippets or post it as a complete interview. Now, an explainer is going to be a lot closer to a traditional news article. The difference will be the way the information is formatted. We'll usually have headings and subheadings, but most of the time we're going to start with a specific piece of information about something happening right now, and then you might include a step-by-step process after it, or it could be a nonlinear bit of information. And by nonlinear, I mean that it can be read in any order and still understood by the audience. So that means maybe some background information, perspectives on the topic from different groups, and all of it's kind of broken down into different segments. Oh, one additional note about the explainer. So an explainer can also include definitions or a more detailed explanation about what something is and how or why the audience should care about it and how it affects their life. Now, a how-to is pretty self-explanatory. That means it's a step-by-step guide. It's often going to be a linear piece of information. That means you need to do step 1, then step 2, step 3, or if you prefer A, B, and C in order to get from your, where you are at the beginning to a completed project or a completed item at the end. These will often include pictures or videos to help the audience through each step. Now, listicles are a combination of list and article. These are usually something where they'll have like the best of whatever or the worst whatever, and they could also be like a year-end recap, or maybe a few product reviews related to a particular topic. For example, if you're looking for a specific type of cat food, then you would possibly, like if you're looking for a senior cat, then you would have them ranked in a certain order. It really depends on how the writer wants to categorize each product within the review. And you can see a bit more about list writing at this link to Copyblogger. They provide some helpful suggestions about creating a more attractive list. Now, niche blogging is where you're focusing on one particular topic throughout the blog. So, throughout the blog or website, you're only talking about a particular group of people, or you're writing with a particular group of people in mind, or maybe you're focusing on a specific subject. For example, if you're talking about innovative technologies in computer science or something, or if you're looking at women's rights, or if you're looking at a specific part of the political spectrum, or if you're looking at video games within a particular genre, or just video games in general, then each of those is a particular topic category or a niche that is being filled by what you're writing. So the number of different things you can focus on is endless, but it makes it a lot easier for your audience if you're combining information and focusing on a particular subject throughout your website or your blog. Now, one cool thing whenever you're putting together your own website is you do have the ability to include multiple contributors. This could mean staff editors or freelance writers. And the audience can also provide contributions. For example, whenever we're talking about a, let's say a recipe for a recipe blog where they're posting information about how to create a specific type of pasta or whatever, if a few people in the audience maybe change the recipe a little bit, they're able to contribute to that information and leave it for other people to review later on. Now, news blogging, this is where we're looking at traditional news outlets or online news groups, and they're focusing on maybe a specific topic within their news focus, and it might also include a few more traditional news articles. This is where we can also have multimedia aspect at work, so including those recorded podcasts or radio shows along with your longer form web article. It can add a lot more for your audience, and that way, even if someone, let's say, wants to get that piece of information but they aren't able to listen to something at the moment, then they're able to at least read through some or all of the posts you created. Now, why would a news group post online? Most traditional news organizations, of course, have their own platforms, whether we're talking about a newspaper or broadcasting through TV or radio. Now, whenever you look at online publishing, one of the main reasons that a news website might include a include that a news group might include a website is because there's less overhead. So they don't have to worry about getting something out for a particular edition or dealing with a limited amount of airtime. They don't have to worry about, how many pages an article will take. They're still able to include advertising while publishing online. So it's it ends up being a pretty good deal, especially if you have multiple publication platforms. Another thing, of course, is there's a flexibility to online publishing. You're able to publish whenever you want, and that way you're able to still cover breaking news, even when your night crew is the only group available, and to provide 24-hour updates. Now, a couple of other reasons, of course, are there's an ability to provide expanded content. That means stories about topics that might not otherwise be covered might be included on the online platform, or you can add more information. This is especially true when we talk about broadcasting, where you usually only have a very short airtime. Remember, we're talking somewhere between maybe 12 seconds and 2 minutes, depending on what kind of story you're running. And that way, your audience is able to understand everything better whenever they can read that longer form post online. And you're able to provide additional context for your audience. Now, promotional blogging, this relates more to marketing and advertising. You're able to talk about, excuse me, um, you're able to talk about things with your audience in a little more social format, and it's also a great way to increase brand visibility and familiarity for your audience. And part of that familiarity comes from including personal stories. I've read a lot of really successful promotional blogs where they included day-to-day information. For example, one of them was an importer, and he would talk about things that were happening in the country where he was living at the time, and he could uh, relate that information to his audience, who was obviously already interested in that content because they were considering buying something from his group. And providing those extra tidbits helps your audience connect more with your brand, and eventually they they're more likely to actually click through those marketing emails and buy something from you compared to a competitor who doesn't provide that additional information. Now, another way of promoting is through advertorials. This is a combination of like advertising and editorial. So we're looking to create something that's closer to a news type article, but it includes paid product placements, so a product or service. And it also provides a way for the audience to actually see how those items work out in real life and how it would relate to what they need. Here's an example from Bon Appetit. which is also a magazine, and they have a lot of other stuff too, of course. But in this case, you can see what they have. So it starts with a smoked salmon recipe. And you can see it has decent enough reviews for a recipe. And they start out with that introductory paragraph explaining what's going on, what are you cooking, what's going to go into this dish. And after explaining what it is, they also have a what you'll need section. And you can see that they have promotional links for each item. They want you to use their Amazon partnership to buy these items. And that way you can make the amazing salmon they're talking about here. Now, of course, hopefully all of us know that you don't have to actually buy all of these things. These are suggestions from these groups whenever they include this stuff. And sometimes you can find things at other websites, whether it's a better product or a better price for the same item. But it is handy to have it laid out for you. And of course, as many retailers have realized, it's a great idea to show people what they're going to use, and they're more likely to at least look at it. And of course, the recipe continues by including ingredients. If you use Yumly or some of the other cooking websites, they do have links on there as well with grocers where you can buy all of the ingredients that you'll need. And those kinds of click through advertisements also seem to work pretty well. And they have the dish preparation laid out, and of course reviews. And as we can see, people include their own comments and information. All right, let's look a little more at that online writing format. When you think of online writing, think of the useful use of online writing. So the first one is useful, urgent, unique, ultra specific. So we're looking for content to be useful, urgent, unique, and ultra specific. Think about your own web searches whenever you're looking for something. Again, we're trying to answer our audience's questions and to fit their particular goals. And whenever we look at the elements of blog and web writing, we'll see that they are very similar to what we have in our traditional news format. However, there are a few key differences I want you to note. And the first is the headline. The headlines can be longer for online content because we don't have to worry about print space, right? And one of the good and bad parts about it is people will often just read a headline and are less likely to read the article. Now, most of the time, you're going to want people to read your article. You actually went through the trouble of writing it, so why not have them read it too? And you want to use the 80-20 rule of online writing to help you figure out how to get people to click on your article and actually read more than the headline. whatever information you provide, it should be carefully selected and a way to hook your audience before they even start reading the article. Now, here's an example. Whenever we look at a newspaper headline related to gardening, it'll often look something like this: start your spring garden this fall. When we look at an online headline, it'll be a little more active, I would say, like better spring gardens start in the fall, improve yours with these 5 tips. Now, some people are against including numbers with the number of tips or whatever you're writing about, but sometimes those additional descriptions can help people. Some of the ones that might keep someone from reading it, of course, are whenever you say, oh, let's look at the 50 best whatever you're reviewing. And when it starts getting into those like double digit numbers above 10, we're starting to probably turn a few people away. And even if they click on the article, it's highly unlikely that they get past the first handful of examples. Now, the lead will include your opening paragraph or paragraphs. This is usually formatted as kind of a mini story. And your lead, of course, is going to vary based on your topic, but whatever it is, it's going to provide a big picture concept that you're going to explain more under your additional subheadings. And like I said, your lead will vary based on the type of article. If you're writing a traditional news article where you're adding, or something similar to a traditional news article, then you're going to include basically a small article at the beginning of your larger idea. So it introduces all the main elements, and then you might include a section on the background of a particular person or a company or whatever it is you're talking about in your article. As we saw, how-to and promotional articles include different information. You can go back to part 1 to view those items. And the lead should be worded differently from your headline. You don't want to copy and paste your headline as your opening sentence. It's really boring and it can be a turnoff for your audience. And you also want to avoid using imagine leads. Again, same as with news writing, when we start using imagine, then you're just writing a fiction book. And if people want to read your short story fiction, they'll go buy your essay in whatever publication. Now, your body is going to be about 700 to 1600 words. This is one of the few items where I will mention a specific length for a body section. And that's mostly to kind of rein in how much writing to include, because you want it to be easy to read for your audience. You want to highlight main ideas related to your topic and provide some kind of order to your information. One of the best and worst things about publishing online is that you have the ability to write something that goes on almost forever. So something that might take 20 pages in a magazine is just something a person could constantly scroll through online, and it's okay, sort of, except that you're more likely to lose the audience's attention the longer your article is. So Consider your audience's needs. Remember, they have other parts to their life, and they probably don't want to spend the next 4 hours reading about different ways you can decorate your front door. Now, the body is broken down differently. Uh, I've mentioned subheadings a little bit, but basically, instead of just having those constant segments, the constant chunks of information, now we're breaking it down even more and providing subheadings for each portion of a topic. And that subheading could be paired with paragraphs, it could be paired with bullet points. Bullet points are a great way, as we saw with the ingredient section for the recipe we looked at earlier, to give those specific small pieces of information. Or if you're writing a list and you want them to have several short ideas in a row, so giving your audience that information might look a bit better in bullet points compared to short chunk paragraphs. Of course, you can use additional media within your body, and that includes photos, slideshows, videos, PDFs, audio recordings, etc. And most of them can help your audience to better understand your topic. Now, your closing, this is still going to follow a very similar format to our news articles, where you're looking to wrap up your main ideas. This could be with inspirational quotes or quotes that summarize the main ideas, or maybe a reference back to ideas you brought up in the introduction. It could be a call to action where your audience is able to, how you're explaining how they would use the information that you just gave them, or if they're given a number to call or a website to visit. Whatever it is that works best for your topic, that's what you would use in your closing. And of course, you want to check your work before you publish. That means checking names, dates, numbers, places, making sure that you have accurate hyperlinks. And also, whenever you include a URL, you want it to open in a new window. Sometimes your audience doesn't want to have to use their back button the whole time in their web browser, or it might take them away from your website. And whatever approach you're using, it's usually a good idea to have any links open in a new browser video, or if you're using an app, then see if there's a way for you to include it within the app. Now, spelling and grammar, of course, are a must. We've all seen articles that seem kind of halfway done, and like the author really wasn't checking their work or going through everything as well as they should have. And as we've mentioned since the beginning of the semester, that's something that can cause them to lose faith in the other information you're providing. And you also want to whenever you're embedding information, make sure that you don't have any broken content. So that means where a photo or video doesn't load. This may happen more often with older content, and that is part of the risk reward um, if you're including something that you aren't hosting yourself. And of course, you do want to credit images that you've collected online. Let your audience know where you found it, who created it, what's going on. with those pictures or video that you have. And if you are able to, of course, you want to include alt text, that's alternative text that appears either when an image doesn't load, or it will be read aloud for people who use a blind transcription device. So they're able to know what's included on the page. All right, well, that is it for chapter 6. Here are some additional references that you can visit, and it can hopefully give you a little more information if you're looking for it. And I will see you in class.